All right, guys. It's time once again for Mid-Card Mana. This is the Loose Cannon and Sam Kyola, the wrestling connoisseur. So this is our week in review for WWE.
I just finished watching SmackDown like right before you came.
Awesome. Yeah. Perfect.
I just want to start saying Raw was very much better this week than it was last week.
Definitely an improvement.
Last week had me pulling my what little hair I have out, my beard hair. I was pulling beard hair out. Braun! And I was just like, what kind of shit is this? This is just crap. But this week's show actually came across like it was booked really well.
It was a lot better.
And I think, to me, it looked like the main event was actually on at the end instead of the middle, like they had been doing. And I think that helped. Mm-hmm. Although there are a lot of parts that still dragged. But yeah, let's hit it really quick.
So, first big thing that happens is the Jason Jordan versus Roman Reigns. Jason Jordan really starting to...
He's starting to get that heat.
Possibly get appropriate heat.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely showed a little bit more of a bold streak this week. By I think suplexing Reigns.
I really
into giving him a title match.
I really feel like, I'm guessing maybe some of this credit could go to Angle for all this, really, because they're working together so close.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But if we look at Angle's start in this, there's a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. But with Angle, I'll give Vince McMahon credit here. He actually knew what he was doing when he built up Angle. Although a lot of people felt this way against Angle, like, okay, who is this guy coming in and getting this huge push? Oh, he's an Olympic gold medalist. Oh, well, a lot of people did not buy into it. Like, he won the world title very quickly. So a lot of people just didn't buy it, but Angle pulled it off in the long run.
But Angle sold it until it sold.
And, huge career there. So Jordan, maybe, who knows? But it's looking better. He's getting more warranted heat than real life heat.
Yeah.
For sucking.
Which he
doesn't say. He's great in the ring.
He doesn't actually suck, though. I mean, he's a talented performer in the ring. He knows he's not awful on the mic. He's not the best on the mic, but he's by no means terrible.
Everybody hated the gimmick.
Yeah.
Everybody hated the storyline.
It was sort of dead on arrival, and it just didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't work because people were so against it from the start.
And it's interesting. I mean, a lot of it also depends on the avenue they're in. Mm-hmm. What market they're in week to week. And this one, the fans definitely didn't. They didn't care for Jason Jordan in the storyline as far as being the coward,
Angle's son also.
And being Angle's son, and Angle's starting to get a little frustrated, so that feeding into it too. And I can't remember what the response to Roman Reigns was.
What do you mean?
I think it was just like the usual, like some cheers, some boos.
Oh, by the audience.
Last week, it seemed like there was a lot more cheers for Reigns.
It was a lot more of a cheer for Reigns and an audible boo for Jason Jordan.
Oh, definitely there. Jordan was definitely.
And then, of course, Samoa Joe also made his presence known, sort of as like challenging for the IC belt as well. It's
so dangerous. I mean, it's good and it's bad because the fans like Joe.
The fans love Joe.
So it was like Joe comes out and there's a pop.
He's a heel and they still love him. And I mean, my grandpa was wearing his Samoa Joe shirt earlier today.
And I definitely feel like it's maybe not the best interest to do Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns for that reason.
Yeah, because you're gonna
the fans are gonna cheer Joe instead.
Yeah. So it's not gonna be effective for what you want to try and do.
Right. But with that said, I think it would definitely be a great series for a feud, and Reigns could learn a lot from Joe. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it could be really good.
It could be a fantastic feud.
If they're going to keep the title on Reigns and have him and Joe trade it back and forth for a year or so. And that's what they really need to do, in my opinion, if you want to get Reigns over. Keep him with the IC title and just have him and Joe trade it back and forth a couple times. And it'll help get Joe over, too, making him look more established with a couple IC runs.
Unfortunately, I do think people aren't that crazy about the idea of hot potatoing the IC belt because it's happened a decent amount over the past couple of years.
I wouldn't do it like they're doing the tag title on SmackDown, but let Reigns run with it for 3 months, have Joe take it for 2 months, put it back on Reigns, kind of like Roode and Warrior there for a while, and that definitely elevated Warrior ready for a world title run, and I mean Roode really could have ran for the world title too at that point.
What a man. So, basically what happened was Jason Jordan, during this whole promo that they're giving, belly-to-belly suplexes Roman Reigns, picks him up in a big bear hug, suplexes him. Reigns is like, all right, you got your match, kid. They have a pretty good match.
Yeah.
It was a pretty decent back and forth. I mean, everyone knew Reigns was going to retain. That wasn't really anything that was surprising, but just showing a lot of the heart of Jason Jordan. And I mean, like, he catches Reigns, and Reigns goes for a Superman punch, I think. Catches him snatches him out of the air.
It's interesting and kind of dangerous. I mean, Jordan is phenomenal in the ring.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like always...
Very super athletic.
I don't get why
quick for his size.
You wouldn't have done Gable, because, I mean, he is just as good in the ring, but the smaller guy being Kurt Angle's son and doing this, it just seemed like it would have been a better story. And, like I said, Gable and Shelton, God, what a tag team that would have been.
Shelton
and Jordan. But yeah, I mean, Jordan, as good as he is in the ring, he doesn't seem to be able to get himself over just on that.
Yeah, which is a shame. And I mean, even in his time in NXT, he's always really needed someone else to play off of as well. And I hate, as much as I really don't like to admit it, a lot of the charisma of American Alpha came from Ready Willing Gable. And it worked that way because, like, Jason Jordan at the beginning of their tag team alliance, I guess, was really sort of begrudgingly accepting him as a tag team partner. And then every week Chad Gable would give this really good performance that would sell Jason Jordan more on their partnership until they finally were a solid tag team on the same page and then got the shots.
It was a good angle. It was a good... Everything worked. Yeah. Everything worked out well. I would have liked to seen somebody else instead of Joe, I think, to get more heat in the angle. But glad they're using Joe.
Joe, after the match, after they finished the match, Joe went in and attacked Roman Reigns, and Jason Jordan actually tried to interfere.
For the save. Yeah.
Came for the save. And then
Reigns punched him for his effort. And that part felt a little wonky to me. I don't know if I would have done that. Again, the Roman Reigns character he's just not Stone Cold.
So having him play something like Stone Cold would do isn't gonna sell as well. I think definitely.
Wouldn't it have worked more if Reigns had been like, "Hey, thanks," and went to shake Jordan's hand, and then Jordan like smack his hand away and roll out.
Or just like shoved him or something.
And then we would get a little bit more heat on Jordan.
Yeah.
And Reigns still comes off looking like a white meat babyface.
Yeah. And I mean, it wouldn't have hurt Roman Reigns to even just give him a nod.
Yeah.
Maybe not an explicit thank you, but just sort of like a stare off, like a all right, kid, you're right. It wouldn't have hurt him at all.
Yeah, the Superman punch. I am a big favor of the Superman punch being used once per match instead of I don't know how many times
it's supposed to be a finisher.
3 or 4 moves a match. But
now it's a signature move.
Yeah,
more than a finisher.
I thought it was just like a little too much for it. But other than that, I thought it started the show pretty good.
Yeah. The next match after that was Paige versus Sasha Banks with Alexa Bliss on commentary.
Honestly, I'm so over this angle
Absolution.
already. It's absolutely boring.
I think it's a waste
It is. It's an absolute waste. I'm
of Paige.
not interested in it at all.
And I understand that where it's coming from, where it's sort of like Paige was on Tough Enough and saw these ladies and saw they had something, but I don't think it's selling. I don't think it's selling Mandy Rose, and I don't think it's selling Sonya Deville, and it's a shame.
It is
because
a shame.
they're good. I liked Mandy Rose
a
lot when I saw her in Tough Enough, and I thought she had a really good potential to be a good competitor. But this isn't helping them as much as it's pushing Paige, and so they just sort of look like the two goons on the side.
It would mean more if it was just solo Paige, or maybe if she just had one of them instead of both of them. Actually, it would have looked better if Ruby Riott was with Paige. Just her and Ruby Riott, and then put the 4 others on SmackDown. Or if they would do what I think and just have a women's show, and had Paige leading a whole group of them, would have been better.
And it's appearing more and more that these two groups are not related.
Yeah, I mean, this was
when we first saw them, right? Everyone was hoping that this is going to be like Paige is the leader of all of them. But as it plays out on the different brands, they're dissimilar enough to show that this is really not part of a giant cohesive plan.
They're trying to make it a little dissimilar,
and I understand that, but I mean, if you're gonna have,
I think mainly because
the aesthetic similarity, then it's gonna be weird to not have it to have them dissimilar enough that it seems like these are two separate ideas. And
it's not.
And it plays off really weird. Anyway, the match itself was pretty good.
I was just bored. I was already thrown out of it. It's like writing. If I'm gonna pick up a book and read, and then it's a total ripoff of another book, then I'm not gonna be into it. If I'm reading wrestling as writing, and it has like these two factions, and both of them have 3 people in it, and both of them
are led by a goth chick,
it's just,
and are flanked by a tough brunette and a pretty blonde.
Yeah, I'm not going to be into it because it's just not making any sense to me why you would do that on both brands.
Yeah, and
it turned an otherwise struggling women's division. With storyline-wise struggling, I mean. And then injecting this storyline into it, it didn't help it any.
Yeah.
I think it actually made it worse. And I went from being...
Which means it's an uphill battle for all 5 of these new talents now to sort of find their way in the
Because I'm watching and I'm going, okay, well, I would watch before, like I'd have my favorites, and me and my daughter watch, and she has her favorites, and it's like, oh, I think they should push this one, they should do this, and they can really start making this better.
Bailey Mark
and then
for life.
Instead they do this now, and I'm completely uninterested in any of it.
The most interesting part of this match specifically was having Paige on Paige's side, having Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I keep wanting to call her by her real name, Daria Baronata. And Sasha Banks having Bayley and Mickie James on her side. And the two sides don't ever really come into that much as far as blows. But, I mean, it's just like this weird tension of these other people eyeing each other out outside the ring. And, I mean, it was a good match. It was a good return match for Paige.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, she had Sasha Banks, who definitely tries very hard to make her opponent look good and sell all of their moves really well. So, I mean, very, very good matchup as far as 2 people to work with each other, especially Paige's first in-ring return since she's been gone. That being said, there were points in the match where you could tell that things were dragging a little bit. And whether that's due to just Paige getting readjusted to being back in the WWE or being in WWE rings on television. Because I know she has been training down at the Performance Center. It remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But, of course, Paige does win because it's her return match, so she has to win.
And you have to consider, like, I mean, I'm sure Sasha isn't happy with the way this is going. Because rumors are that she wanted to turn heel again, but now she's being pushed as the main babyface of Monday Night Raw because they won't pull the trigger for some reason on Bayley, or where they pulled the trigger and they just now that they have these three heels in,
it's becoming sort of really oversaturated. It's becoming oversaturated with heels, similar to how SmackDown is. But we'll talk about that situation when we hit SmackDown, which we'll try to do soon. So the next match after that or not the next match, the next thing that happens is Elias Sampson comes out and starts talking about how he should get a match. He should get a match
with Elias
in the City of Angels. And they want to walk with Elias, but there's no good opponents left. And Kurt Angle's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll find you a worthy opponent." And then it goes to commercial. Next thing that happens is video package on the Kane Strowman feud, which leads then into something very interesting that happens. So it's Enzo Amore talking to the Zo Train. So Tony Nese and Drew Gulak are part of the Fatal 4-Way that's going to happen later that night to determine who's going to be the other person to compete for number one contendership for the Cruiserweight Championship. So he kind of sells them and says, you guys are a direct reflection of me, and I'm a winner. I'm not a loser, so you guys can't be losers either, scrubs. He doesn't say scrubs, but there's basically the tone in his voice. So, and the good line I liked was, a lot of things happen on the Zo Train, but two things that they don't do are lose, and lose again. Which I liked. I'll admit it. I liked that.
You're a loser.
So then he sends the rest of the Zone Train out, and he's standing there, and he turns around, and who is he faced with? But a grinning Nia Jax that says, "How you doing?" And then leaves, and then he's just standing there stunned, as were we all.
Poor Nia.
So I don't know what's going on there. Also, that's the other thing that makes me realize that Enzo Amore is fairly tall, is because he's taller than Nia Jax. At least he appeared so. A lot of camera tricks do that, but I
don't know. Is this just a way to keep Nia out of the Paige angle, so to keep her strong
keep
for later
keep her
on?
away from Paige and Asuka?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But see, that's the problem. If there's not enough women to have them all together in storylines,
then they
pulling one out to make them a love angle or something or other, it just seems
in the Cruiserweight division.
Because
we've been through this, guys. Love angles in the Cruiserweight division don't work. They shouldn't work. You should stop.
We just need a women's show.
I'm hoping that this
is just the romance angles.
Her trying to throw him off his game. I hope this is some long con. I really do. This is my crazy desire, is that it's some long con and she's gonna cost him the title. For who? I don't know. But just someone. I don't like Nia Jax being in a love angle. I don't like any of the women talent being used as a sort of love angle thing, because I think it's cheap, and I think especially in this day and age where you're trying to push these women as superstars on their own, to try and attach them to a guy as sort of like a love angle is just, what is the point? What is the actual point?
I don't know.
Especially when you have the actual relationships between superstars as kept sort of out of that that sort of spotlight. Look at
Rusev
even
and Lana.
Rusev and Lana, Nikki Bella and John Cena, Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan. These people who had real life relationships that you could have used.
They would not use them in storylines.
Yeah.
They just barely touched on them. And I thought
So
it
if
was
you're
a
not gonna
huge
if you're not
accident.
gonna use it's the only ones that you really use are Maurice and Miz.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really for its
And
own
that's
purposes.
very rare even now.
And Maria and Mike Kanellis because it's their gimmick.
Right. And she's away, so.
It's the greatest love she's ever
I don't know.
known.
That angle, who knows where it's going to go.
But I mean, even at that, they weren't involved in love triangles or anything like that, like how Alicia Fox was. So you need to fix yourself because Alicia Fox is better than that. I will say it.
They just
She's
need to
got
get a
shit.
women's 1 hour show. That's all there is to it.
Book it.
With a world, and it has to be called a world women's title. So it's not just like, oh, it's the girls' title.
The
It needs to be
WWE
Women's World
World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. And you need a mid-card title and a tag title.
Women's TV champion.
And we should do that one day and just sit down and book how we would plot that out. I would love to do that because, yeah, I think we both have strong opinions on how they do the women's division, and it could be done. And
it could definitely be done. It could
doesn't
easily
have to
be
It
done.
could be on the network.
And you wouldn't have to sacrifice anything for it.
Yeah. And I have one of my good friends, and he loves women's wrestling. He would rather watch women's wrestling than men's wrestling. And he's
Is he a
huge
big fan of Rina Joshi?
I have no idea. But he's a huge fan of
Shimmer?
And yeah, so I mean, there for a while, that's all he followed.
And they got really good. They've gotten really good talent out of Shimmer. I think they recently pulled the WWE. I mean, recently pulled Mercedes Martinez over. I think she's actually contracted with the WWE now. So definitely, and she was a multiple time champion over at Shimmer, and people like Mia Yim, who we've talked about before. Ember Moon.
Yeah, Ember Moon.
Definitely.
So yeah, we should do that. We should just plan to do that one day.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We're diverting the Zoe train. So the next match was the Fatal 4-Way for the other spot for number one contendership. So
Didn't
it was
go how we kind of had hoped it would.
Drew Gulak versus Mustafa Ali versus Tony Nese versus Cedric Alexander. Mustafa Ali, I have to say, hitting a phenomenal springboard Spanish fly. Oh my god! I already loved him. I love him even more now.
It was like, you're not going to win this match, so let me see. I'll give you a good spot.
And it was a great spot, honestly. And I think it really showed off.
But he's definitely talented.
His abilities to work on the ropes.
One of my biggest problems with him is it just looks like, oh look, it's Middle Eastern Hurricane.
I hope they don't turn him heel.
I hope they turn him into Hurricane. When he comes out, I just want to hear. How did it go? Like, watch out! There's a hurricane coming through.
Stop! Hurricane Helm still wrestles also.
It's Hurricane Ali.
No, shut up.
Dun, dun,
Don't do this to me. I like Mustafa Ali as he is. I think I honestly I'm a big fan of his whole his face angle of being, I know what people might think about me based on my ethnicity and how, and how I look. But I'm here to show people that no matter what you think of me, I'm gonna make you believe in me. And I'm gonna show you that I'm a talent.
He is a great talent.
And I loved that immediately, especially contrasting with Ari Daivari and how he portrayed himself initially as a heel.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Mustafa Ali. It was sad that neither he nor Cedric Alexander didn't win.
Sean Daivari in to have a tag team with his brother.
He's not cruiserweight though. So
that would get tricky. He's like what, 210?
Yeah, it's too much. It's 5 pounds too much.
Seriously, I'm supposed to believe that Big Cass is 7 foot tall, but I won't believe that Sean Daivari's 205.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a great angle? Have Aiden English cut 5 pounds or 10 pounds to be a cruiserweight and just dominate the division.
I'd be okay.
Because I mean, he would just like, yeah. Anyway, go on next thing.
So Drew Gulak ends up stealing the win.
Yes.
After Cedric Alexander hits the lumbar check on Mustafa Ali.
I know. I was like, oh, here it is, and then it was like, oh,
nope, there it went.
I was like, why? Why would you do this? But there it is.
There it is.
It's done.
I'd be interested to see what happens if Drew Gulak is the one that wins the number one contendership. Will he go up against Enzo Amore?
I'm kind of curious when they did that. Like, will they?
I mean,
what would there be to gain?
He's getting a lot of really good reactions from the crowd. I think definitely a lot more than a lot of the other cruiserweights.
But I feel like it's because he's the gimmick and everything, because he's heel and he's with Enzo, and it kind of adds this little frustration bit, and we're just happy that Enzo is frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he could turn face and carry it. It would just be a death sentence for him at this point. Could be wrong. He may turn face and do the best things since sliced bread number 2. But
hey, another person that also should have been a face upon his return, Brian Kendrick. The Brian Kendrick. Anyway, so next match after that was Elias versus Braun.
You know, I was very excited for this. It's the first time
My
we've
dad
seen
called this immediately as soon as he saw Elias, and was like, "Oh, there's." As soon as he heard Kurt Angle go, "Oh, I'll find you a worthy opponent." Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh, he's gonna fight Braun Strowman."
Yeah. I mean, these are 2 new guys that we haven't seen fight everybody yet, so this is our freshness, and it's great.
Yeah.
And God, Elias I really felt he got over more from this angle than just being squashed.
Yeah, but I think definitely.
I mean, Braun definitely did
Braun
too.
looked as like fantastic.
But for
got hit with the guitar.
For Elias to go out and they say, okay, well, you got to make Braun look good. Elias still looked good. You know, he still got in offense, and just him next to Braun. Most guys
he didn't get tossed around like a rag doll immediately. So
most guys are dwarfed by Braun, but Elias still. I mean, he's a big boy.
He's pretty stocky. Yeah.
And so I mean, there was a few moments where he got in a little offense. He threw Braun into the ring post and stuff like that. Like you said, a great spot where he hit him with the guitar and did nothing, and he kind of like looks at it and runs. Yeah, hopefully we will see a follow-up to this. They kind of got to do something. The Kane feud is going to get dry really fast.
Boy, is it.
I just feel like they're going about it in a wrong manner, how to portray Braun against Kane. Because you still got to keep him face. And once you start having him do heel stuff right now, it just doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
Because Kane is still so beloved to the crowd.
Definitely.
And that's a lot of where their problem is. It's like, okay, we're just going to bring this guy in as heel. We're just going to bring Joe in as heel. And everybody's like, Joe. We're just going to bring Kane in as a heel against Braun. And the flames go up and the whole arena pops.
Yeah.
And not what you want when you're booking face versus heel.
Yeah.
You actually want your face to get the pop and you want your heel to get booed. And
but I'm a dirty smark, and I'll cheer for people like Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, and as the heels, I'm just like, yeah, kill them.
But if it's written really well, I'm more satisfied. Like, I would totally cheer for the face if it's written really well. Unless I just totally despise the face, like Randy Orton.
He's been a face?
Yeah, he's a face, believe it or not.
I know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But
carry on.
So next match after that, or the next thing that happens is Roman Reigns locker room vignette with the rest of the Shield, and he's like, "All right, guys, I did my part. Now it's time for you guys to do yours." Meaning, they have to win the match they have set later in the night. Of course, Shield versus Bar again.
Kind of, yeah. That whole segment felt a little odd to me. Like,
it
are you
seems very
trying
stilted.
to tease a heel turn by anyone in particular.
I felt like it was a heel turn. I felt like if anyone is going to turn heel from that moment alone, it was going to be Reigns, and he was going to be like, "You guys are useless."
Right.
Right? That's what I
would love to see that, though.
Because I mean, just by even saying, I did my part.
Right.
Sort of setting himself apart of them, going, well, I retained my championship because I was good enough. So you guys got to go back and get yours. Sort of, that sort of vibe came from that to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is what that was. So the next match was Alicia Fox, who had a promo.
She finally got her shirt.
Yeah, she's like, I'll do better than Dana Brooke because I led Team Raw to victory. I got a T-shirt and I'm ready for Asuka. And she was not ready for Asuka, but she was a little bit more ready than any other people so far.
And I mean, here we go again with the whole angle, and it's overkill. It's already not helping, and now it's overkill.
Yeah.
You know, all three of them Absolution comes out again.
Oh yes, so that's what happened.
They repeat the angle from last week.
Alicia Fox versus Asuka ends, of course, with Asuka winning by the cross arm bar.
Mm-hmm.
Then Paige's music hits and Absolution comes out. They surround the ring, and Asuka is just like ready to throw down. She's like, "I'm gonna kill you, bitches."
Yeah.
And so then they
need to do something different though.
Because
it's already old.
She waves Asuka off. Asuka backs out of the ring because she knows not to turn her back.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alicia Fox is left alone in the ring, and Paige goes in and is like, "No, I'm not gonna hurt you, Alicia Fox. I love you. You were like one of the few people that liked me. I love you. You're my best friend." But
them not so much.
Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville don't feel the same way. And then they beat up Alicia Fox.
Yeah. I would like to see, and hopefully next week, I would like to see one of the women try to attack Asuka, and she just take them out like in a heartbeat.
Just like snaps them.
And then like Paige waves the other off, like, okay. Well,
it's like, all right. It's just
and
like,
Asuka, we just need to see a little something, because at this stage it feels really
weak.
Awkward and weak.
It's just makes them look weak.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them. Weak. Yeah. Anyway, so the next thing that happens, and I'm saying this specifically to call out Corey Graves on his fucking Distillers reference. I see you, Corey Graves, trying to make girls like me like you. I'll give you that one because City of Angels is my favorite song. Because as Finn Balor's walking backstage, he just goes, "Oh, it's going down tonight in this town," as they stare and growl. And I was just like, I heard it.
More reason.
I heard it and I was like, "You cheap bastard."
Okay.
Because so the next match was Finn Balor versus Bo Dallas.
You know, okay, so
a surprisingly good match.
Yeah, it was a very good match, and Bo got really sold a lot.
I only say it's surprising because at this point of where Bo Dallas is, you wouldn't expect that they would give him this opportunity to shine.
Yeah. So I don't know if whoever in the back, whoever put this match together, goes, okay, let's give Bo some chance to shine here, or if they're like, okay, Finn, you're so far down the pole now, Bo has a chance. I don't know which it was.
I hope it's the former rather than the latter.
But at any rate, it was a good match. I was glad to see Bo, in there. He had his, blackjack glove on.
He did.
And he had his cowboy boots on.
My mom boots. Made a comment.
And he had his Mike Rotundo singlet. I mean, he has everything from who he is, the dynasty of the Wyndham Rotunda dynasty, which is very good. You don't really get to see it because he never wrestles now.
And they also rarely reference it.
Yeah, they don't reference it at all.
And he's a legacy.
He is. At this stage, I almost feel like the only way he's going to get over is if he becomes Erwin R. Shyster Jr.
I hate to admit that you might be right, but because I'm such a big fan of Bo Dallas and Bo Leave and all that.
And I mean, maybe not call him that, but keep calling him Bo Dallas, but have him be like, I'm going to change. I'm Like when the Mr. Rush thing is over, if he's not over in some program, then they'll be like, okay, well, maybe I need to rethink things and find a different career. And then
Maybe
he
I
shows
need
up the
to-
next
yeah.
week, his red tie and his suit and the suspenders and the
everything.
and he's like,
All
no,
right.
I decided
Alright.
to go into my dad's business. I am now an agent of the IRS.
The pop would be
It would be
pretty
huge.
big.
And then he'd be like, show up later again, and like Stephanie be like, "What are you doing here?" And he's be like, or maybe even Kurt Angle,
Should
if
help
he's
you with
still
your
there.
taxes.
And he's be like, "I'm sorry, but you're being audited." It might
Maybe I
actually
say
get
that.
him over as a face.
But I have to say, as far as Bo Dallas is concerned, my mom, because I like to inject my family life into this, as you guys over at Kate Charlie Tweets, if any of you are watching, know, my mom actually said something along the lines of, "Oh, he's not going to do too well because his chain is still on." And then, like,
As the
not
Filipino
not even 5 seconds after she said that, he took off the chain. And I'm like, the chains are off.
Oh, no.
The chains are off.
Easy, Axel, easy.
Cute. That was great. I loved that so much. I
was a
wish
good
they
match.
did more of that. But yeah,
It really was.
it was.
So I was really happy with that part.
So the next thing that happens, Bo Dallas over to Bray Wyatt. We get a Bray Wyatt promo that's interrupted by, yes, it is Matt Hardy, and he has been awoken.
I mean, really, as corny as it was, which was right up Vince McMahon's alley.
Oh yeah,
As corny as it was great.
it was so good, and I think it gave a lot of people a sense of relief because, I mean, they've been teasing the broken Matt Hardy thing for quite some time now, and everyone's been sort of divided. People have been dying for it to happen, and the other people have been sort of like, I don't want WWE to ruin this, like how they've ruined other gimmicks they've enjoyed in the
Right.
past. But it appears so far, we don't know, this is just the first taste that we've gotten. I mean, he had the same bleach spot, and I mean, he'd cut his hair to that same sort of length and had
Here's the thing.
had the robe, but it appeared to stay more or less true
It did.
to the inception of Broken Matt back when
The
he was
broken
in-
gimmick can get over, and they can do it without him being in a title picture at all.
Oh,
And I
definitely.
mean, they can later throw him in, give him a title shot or something, and then throw him to the next feud. And that's a great thing, to have an upper card guy, having him win matches, most of his matches, have an upper card guy that you can use to get somebody else over.
Yeah.
And the gimmick is so over with the crowd, and they might be able to get a couple years out of it. Who knows?
And I mean, it does really well because you have a whole bunch of different possibilities that you can go with. I mean, and especially because of how he has been, he's already started to put feelers out and open up possibilities for feuds in the future. Whether or not they decide to go all in right now on the Bray Wyatt feud, which they've been
Yeah.
teasing since
I'm
before the Hardys came back.
kind of hoping they do go all in. I mean, in the end, no matter who wins it, it won't really matter.
And it won't
'Cause
hurt either of them.
both guys could get major over from this.
And you always,
It's just you can't go-
because of how both of their gimmicks work, you always leave it possible for a revisitation of this feud in the
Definitely.
future. It's a lot less defined
But
that way.
As long as they don't go the whole Mania match route between Orton and Wyatt, where it was a total miss, and I don't know how they thought that was going to work. But if they just do, basic stuff with this, it's going to get over huge. I mean, the promos themselves will sell the matches, and then all they have to do is really deliver a good match. But
I was so happy when he did that.
it was great. It really was. Every time that you'd have the Serious Bray part and you'd flip screen, and the crowd was just so into it.
Yeah, I mean, once we realized that it was happening, I think once
Once the planets aligned.
once all the stars aligned, and Matt Hardy had been awoken, And we realized that this was not some deception from Meek Mahan.
I mean, that's going to be the feud.
I think
right
people
there.
were able to really sort of breathe a sigh of relief and actually enjoy it. Because I think at first you just don't want to get too invested.
Right.
And I'm still kind of at that point where I'm just like, this is great. I hope it continues down this route.
Let's hope so, because you do the Bray Wyatt feud. You give it its time. You play it out right. You end it well. You bring Jeff back. I don't know if they'll bring him back during the feud.
Brother Nero.
Hopefully, Brother Nero. Hopefully, I don't know if they'll bring back with the feud with Bray Wyatt or right after, but you do that segment in, and then you do the McMahon feud. I think jump straight to Stephanie. Have him come out and call out Stephanie McMahon.
McMahon.
And then if you can get Vince to do it, great.
Lady McMahon.
You know, I think they could get a lot of.
I think Vince would be willing to do it.
I feel like he would. Even Triple H. I mean, God.
And I mean, he could call out McMahon, and then Stephanie come out and be like, "Not you. I need the patriarch of the family, McMahon."
You know, it could be great stuff. And this could be what we've been waiting for.
The person who planted the seeds.
Who knew that after so many years, Matt Hardy
broken brilliance.
You know,
I mean, honestly,
finally get his chance.
I think that the broken Matt angle gimmick has really made me realize that he has been such an underrated talent for so much of his career. And I've always seen it, but I mean, this really sells it, because this is something that he took the time and invested himself in doing, not really knowing maybe if it would get over well, but he saw his opportunity, like he took it, and it paid off.
It has come out of this career that should have been something greater than it was. And it's such a great reflection of Matt Hardy. You know, he's broken from this career that never happened. He never
quite took off.
Yeah.
He unfortunately, for a lot of his career, lived in the shadow of his younger brother.
Well, not
Jeff.
just Jeff, but Edge as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Christian being in Edge's shadow.
The Edge thing is also a whole other can of worms.
Besides the Lita aspect, both of those, you know, Edge, Christian, and then Matt and Jeff, you know, they were all there together, and were like, the Dudleys were kind of preemptive, and then they would leave and come back, but ENC and the Hardys were like brother tag teams.
Right there.
And all three of those guys lived in Edge's shadow. I mean, even Jeff was in Edge's shadow to a degree.
Well, the Jeff Hardy thing is also partially because of his own, I think, folly. Because I think he had the potential to be just as big as Edge.
Oh, definitely.
If not
bigger.
If he didn't make some poor choices.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother thing entirely. So we're gonna try and breeze through the rest of this in SmackDown and NXT and 205 in 20 minutes. So
Challenge
accepted. So the Shield, which is Dirty Dean and Rollins, go up against the Bar, which is Sheamus and Cesaro trying to regain their tag team championships, so that all three of the Shield are champions. They have a match at first.
All three of them.
Yeah, at first it ends via disqualification after Sheamus basically
beats the snot out of Ambrose.
Yeah, or Rollins.
Was it Rollins?
Yeah. Or no, Ambrose. There we go. I didn't get to watch this whole match, unfortunately.
Don't question me. And then Angle comes out and restarts it. And it's a no DQ
match.
No holds barred match or something like that.
I think it was just straight up no DQ. So then that leaves Joe.
But let's see, Joe comes out first, right?
Yeah.
Joe comes out and attacks Shield and then kind of suckers Roman Reigns to the ring. And Roman comes out and he Superman punches, of course, somebody. I think Cesaro, maybe. I think it was Cesaro. And then he comes out, or he's tangled up, and then Joe basically costs Shield the match.
Yeah.
And I think Sheamus hits a brogue kick, and that was it.
Yep. Bro kick onto Ambrose. Sheamus throws Cesaro onto him. They get the pin. They run out through the audience.
And Joe goes with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Wouldn't it be great? Yeah, wouldn't it be great if Joe and the Bard kind of join forces together and makes a little faction?
It appears that might be where they're headed. I think that's actually been something that was spoilers, that's going to be on Tribute to the Troops.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I would be totally with that because, I mean, Joe fits in with those guys, definitely.
Very well.
And that was the main event of Raw. It at least felt like a main event.
It did.
Whereas the last several weeks, and they've even talked about how
it was sort of like a
their main event is at the 2-hour mark, and then the third hour is just kind of
wrapping things up.
But this last week it was booked really well.
Okay.
So
SmackDown opens
really
up
quick.
with KO and Sami Zayn talking about how Sami wasn't technically at ringside, so he didn't really break any rules.
And Sammy does a great bit on this is in the ring, this is ringside.
As us in the business call ringside, and I was just like, oh my god, this is great.
And while he's doing this,
jerk,
I love
it.
So condescending.
I hate being condescended, but I know it works so much.
Out of nowhere,
Randy Orton hits the RKO on Kevin Owens, who sells the bejesus out of it. It's like on the ground, clutching his neck.
In the back.
He's just like, I can't turn my head. What happened? What happened out there, Sammy? So Shane comes in and talks, and it's like, oh, say what? You get a match with Randy Orton tonight. And you know what? Kevin Owens can be ringside. In fact, I want Kevin Owens at ringside, because he's going to be handcuffed to the ring ropes. Yeah.
So then we set the main event set up.
Yeah. So that is set up. Sammy reveals this to
an awakened Kevin Owens.
And Kevin Owens is like, "What? This is totally unfair. I need to talk to Daniel Bryan about this." And so they set out to do so. So the next thing that happens after that is our Rusev Day versus New Day.
And Rusev getting quite the pop.
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd really is responding to Rusev.
Rusev Day. I'm elated. How elated are you?
I was actually happy when I got the email today and I saw the new shirt and I was like, oh, I want a Rusev shirt.
Every day is Rusev Day.
Yeah, I want a Rusev Day shirt.
I also want a Rusev Day shirt.
Oh, man. But
I also want to know the rest of that song. On the third day of Rusev, my partner gave to me, and then ended there.
Yeah.
So we know Rusev shirts and a tag team victory. I'm gonna write the rest of it.
You should. And sing it next week when we do a thing.
I will.
So then New Day versus Rusev.
Versus Rusev Day.
Pretty good match.
Yeah. Rusev gets the win after a Machka kick, I believe.
I was really happy that they won.
On Kofi.
And then it's announced, it was announced during the match that there's going to be a triple threat at
Clash of Champions. So Usos.
I don't like how they're announcing the matches.
So
it's just out of the blue.
At the time, it was Usos versus New Day versus Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable.
Yeah.
And then later on,
after the win,
it's revealed that Rusev Day has been added into the matchup.
Yeah,
it's a fatal four-way.
Day wins.
And apparently, the fatal four-way, as it stands, rules are all four members. A single member from each of the four teams will be in the ring at any given time.
Oh, nice!
And you can only tag out to your own team.
So sort of like a tornado tag four-way kind of
something like that, but it's not an elimination.
It's even okay.
From what I understand, maybe it'll be changed to elimination, or maybe it's just something that I didn't read the stipulations right, but it doesn't appear to be an elimination match.
Interesting.
So it's just whoever first pin wins, pinfall or submission wins.
Who's next?
So they go over the Hype Bros break up, and Mojo Rawley's talking about how he was doing so good without Zack Ryder, and Zack Ryder came back to drag him down, and Mojo's the lying piece of crap.
Apparently Mojo has been tagging with Eric Rowan out and about because Luke Harper had to fly home and be with his family for their second birth. The baby came a month early.
Oh.
So we have a little Harper out there now, another little Harper.
Oh.
So interesting that Mojo was tagging with Rowan through that. Like I called, he should be in 3-man.
You totally called this.
three people in the Bludgeon Brothers.
It's gross that you totally called this.
Yeah,
anyway.
So who knows if they'll do that, but...
So, next thing that happens is a women's segment. All the women arguing backstage.
Again, over it already.
Saying, you know, they should be in Clash of Champions too. And then Daniel Bryan says, well, it's too late. The match is already set. Riot Squad comes in and talks about how, you know, or Ruby Riot comes in and says, you know, I pinned the champion. But what? Is it because I have tattoos that you're like, you don't like me? And then Liv Morgan goes, oh, you don't like blondes? And Sarah Logan goes, oh, you don't like Southerners? So it's
and there was a whole thing about...
And then they all start bickering and he just screams at everyone, which I liked.
Yeah, it was just this... The Southern thing
it was
is
kind of convoluted
weird.
also.
I don't know. I'm just not sold on it.
I don't know. I think that they're doing a lot better at establishing each member of the Riot Squad as someone important and different.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as that versus
But
Absolution, I
it's
like the Riot
like
Squad a
so
little bit
on the nose.
better. Yeah, but it's a little.
I don't know.
It doesn't work perfectly, but I think is doing a little bit better at establishing each of these three women as individuals.
Yeah.
More than Absolution. Anyway,
Definitely.
So the next thing that happens, he announces that the women's match at Clash of Champions, the title match, which is Charlotte versus Natalya, is a lumberjack match now.
And
After that vignette, there's a locker room backstage video on Bobby Roode talking to Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin confronting Bobby Roode, going, you know, how does it feel that now our match is a triple threat? So it's how they're, I guess, announcing that it's officially a triple threat. So it's Bobby Roode versus Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler for the U.S. title. Bobby's like, I can beat you one-on-one, Corbin. But Dolph Ziggler added, my chances go down by a third. Then Baron Corbin's like, oh, my chances go down as well, but I'm the only one that matters, so it's basically like that. And then Dolph Ziggler comes in and is like, you know, I don't know why I was added to the match. It's probably because I'm a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, a 5-time Intercontinental Champion. I've cashed in the Money in the Bank successfully, and now, mathematically speaking, both of your odds just dropped to 0. Which I liked. I like I like how Dolph Ziggler's, you know, kind of coming in, firing on all engines. Firing on all cylinders, I should say.
It's a shame. I really feel like...
I feel like he's going to be the one to eat the pin.
Us.
But
I feel like he needs to save it. I feel like Ziggler needs to win the title, get Corbin out of the picture, and then have the Ziggler-Roode feud for the title.
Again, though. Yeah, just do it better this time.
And I don't know. I mean,
sell Roode this time.
You know, we've talked about before, what do you do with Corbin? And I always say, make him somebody's bitch.
Like, what do you do with Corbin? Release him for future endeavors.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily release him, but he's just not there yet. And I would put him in a tag team or...
He's gotten an astonishing amount of chances for someone who really hasn't shown a whole lot of improvement. Yeah. Or a whole lot of well-rounded improvement, I should say. But that's just my opinion and my Baron Corbin hatred. So it shouldn't be listened to. Anyway, the next match is squash for Bludgeon Brothers. So it's Bludgeon Brothers versus Adam James and Josh Carr. So they were unofficially local talent, but I do think they're fairly big in LA as far as their own local promotions.
Nice.
In
because
Southern
they were in
California.
San Francisco, I think.
They were in San Diego. So next thing that happens is Baron Corbin versus Bobby Roode, which ends in a DQ win for Bobby Roode after he had zigzagged.
Yep.
And then for good measure, Ziggler goes ahead and zigzags Baron Corbin also.
Yeah.
Showing that, he's still got it.
It's not like he's like 50 years old.
He's not. He's just he comes off that way because he's been at this sort of in this position for quite some time.
He has, unfortunately. He should be a mainstay main eventer right now, but
no, that's not how the WWE operates. Anyway, speeding by. Backstage segment with Natalya now talking to Carmella, Tamina, and Lana, saying, now that it's a lumberjack match, you guys should defend yourselves and then throw back Charlotte in the ring and I'll do the rest. Basically trying to get everyone to hate on Charlotte. Then the Riot Squad comes in and before that she's bad-mouthing Riot Squad going, we don't need these 3 straight cats coming into our division. We know that we're better. And then Riot Squad rolls up and she's like, I'm so glad to get the opportunity and the honor and privilege to share the spotlight with such talented, beautiful, strong women. It was.
And then she's like, okay, bye.
And
then she hightails it out.
I like that was.
It was great.
It was good on Natalya's part. The like heel buttering up overacting worked perfectly for what I think she's trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
So I had no complaints on that. I did like seeing Riot Squad come in again. I'm a big fan of Ruby Riott. So I like any chance that she gets to shine.
I mean, this angle that they're doing here is definitely better than what they're doing on Raw.
Yeah.
I feel like overall, the women's division on both shows is suffering from all this. But I will say that the match they ended up having, is that next?
Yes, it was Charlotte Flair versus Tamina, where they both the
one
Riot
spot
Squad
that I really enjoyed was on the outside where Tamina ends up, I think, super kicking. Which one is it? The Southern.
Sarah Logan.
Yeah.
Crazy Mary Dobson, if you are familiar with her work in the Indies.
I mean, so at least on this side, we're getting some contact with the groups. So that's good. And I was happy to see that Tamina was actually in a match against Charlotte. I feel like they need to use Tamina a lot more than they are. Yeah,
and they don't use her enough. And I understand from a sort of, legal or political standpoint where, her dad sort of at the end of his life really took
really gonna fault her for that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault her for it, but at the same time, it is definitely, the sins of the father. They are unfortunately gonna negatively impact her. Yeah. Regardless of the fact that she wasn't even alive at that point, I believe. But
right, what you gonna do?
It was a nice showing for Tamina. Of course, she taps out to the figure 8 to Charlotte. Natalya comes out, talks. Riot Squad comes out, talks. They have sort of showdown with each other until basically Charlotte just. Hightails it out, still with the championship, because Riot Squad and Lana, Tamina, and Carmella sort of get up eating each other's faces and all that, and Natalya. So the next match that happens after that is finally the main event. So before that, we see Daniel Bryan going up to Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens going, Daniel, I want to thank you for even taking the time to listen to me. Is very, supplicating.
Right.
Perfect, honestly. Yeah. And he's like, I agree with you. I'm not really that big of a fan of you being handcuffed to the rope, but I do understand that, you interfere in matches a lot, so it's either this or you get suspended. Would you rather be handcuffed to the ropes or would you rather be suspended? Basically is what he's saying, implying that he knows that he would rather be handcuffed to the ropes. And so KO begrudgingly goes ahead with it. Orton versus Zayn is a pretty good back and forth. Zayn takes a pretty solid beating. He hits. They break a monitor on his back when he hits a table.
I noticed Orton's been doing that a lot. He doesn't move the monitors anymore. He just throws them on.
I don't know if it's if that's specifically for a reason or not.
I don't know. I mean, they're not the big television sets like they used to be. Really? So, I don't know. Maybe they're just like, oh, just do it, or it's not gonna hurt.
But it goes back and forth. Sammy gets bolt cutters out from under the ring, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, what is he gonna do?" Like freaking out, like he's gonna like cut off one of Orton's fingers, which is ridiculous because
awesome.
obviously, all he was gonna do was free Kevin Owens. Like,
I heard he worked with New Jack. You just don't know.
So he doesn't get a chance to, but Kevin Owens, eventually works it so that he snips it off and gets in there, and then Kevin Owens just gets dropped by a clothesline. Like, as soon as he's free, he jumps up and clothesline, and it's done. So basically what happens is Randy Orton goes for an RKO on Sammy, but Sammy blocks it. Sammy goes for the haluva kick and misses. Then Orton rolls him up.
Yeah.
And gets the pin that way. Then KO attacks, and KO and Sammy are attacking. Sammy missing a kick by a mile, honestly, I saw. And I was like, Sammy, you pulled your kick too much. We saw you didn't kick him. I love him, but just honestly. And then we're just like, oh man, he's getting beaten up. I wonder who could possibly save him, because the stipulation that was brought up at the beginning of the show was
Orton gets to pick his tag partner. So it's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Orton and a tag partner of his choosing at Clash of Champions. Yeah. And I was kind of hoping it would be somebody different, honestly, because this was kind of pushed too much.
I figured it was gonna be strong. So Strong Style arrived. The King. Strong Style.
So many kings. But yeah, Nakamura comes out
for the save. He cleans out. Then they both get to do their finishers.
I was so hoping when Randy's holding Sammy up for the Kinshasa that Nakamura would turn and kick Randy Orton in the head.
Oh my god, that would have been amazing.
And then, of course, they would change, it's going to be Orton versus Nakamura at the pay-per-view or whatever.
And then Sammy and Kevin are shunted again.
Yeah, whatever. That would be something. But if for Nakamura to turn at this point would be good for him, honestly, because, he's just drowning.
They're just pissing him away.
He's drowning out there.
So 205, we're going to go through really quickly. So 205 Live was run by Drew Gulak this time because Enzo Amore could not be there. So in the champion's stead, he left his
trusty
first mate,
train.
Drew Gulak. So Drew Gulak goes and talks about, how as a good leader, he has to learn how to delegate responsibilities out to other people to make sure that we all do a good job. So he delegates the match that he had set up against Cedric Alexander to Noam Dar. And Noam Dar, of course, is the new TJ Perkins and getting buried by every cruiserweight. So Noam Dar, of course, loses after a lumbar check because nobody gets out of the lumbar check, which I like.
Which it looks.
I like
it's
how
a
protected it
looking
is.
Move. It really is.
So they have a segment about how, or they have a segment with Mustafa Ali, Akira Tozawa, Rich Swann basically being faces. They hype up Rich Swann a little bit because he has a match later on in the night against Tony Nese. So then there's a recap of Jack Gallagher and the Brian Kendrick's attack on Kalisto, with the Brian Kendrick having a match tonight and winning. Not against Kalisto, against another luchador, Gran Metalik.
Oh, okay.
Which makes me sad because Metalik could have been the first cruiserweight champion. So talented. But he gets the submission win with the bully choke, or Captain's Hook is what they're calling it now. We see a quick recap of Nia Jax and Enzo Amore, question mark. Then Gulak has a meeting with the Zo Train, and Daivari is just sort of like, "Are you trying to take over? What's going on here?"
He's like, "I'm first mate."
And then Gulak is sort of like, "I'm gonna tell Enzo you said that," and then he's like, "Oh, never mind, sorry." And then Drew Gulak compares them to the Justice League, the Zo Train to the Justice League, and says that Arya Daivari is like Wonder Woman because he's a powerful fighter and also has the best fashion sense. So there's that.
That's...
He might be the prettiest member actually of the Zoe Train, so I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I'll respect it. And obviously the Noam Dar's like the Flash because nobody cares.
Oh. Would that be more like the Green Lantern?
I'm talking about the just in this film. Just in the film right now.
Okay.
In this film one.
Well, it's because the real Flash is on CW Network.
Hey. So another hype video for Hideo Itami, who's should be coming soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know. I actually don't know how I feel about that, but that's another video entirely.
Yeah.
So Rich Swann with Cedric Alexander by his side beats Tony Nese, who has Drew Gulak by his side after a Phoenix Splash. Another move that's getting fairly well protected in the cruiserweight division is Rich Swann's beautiful Phoenix Splash.
When these two face each other eventually in a feud, it's going to be good.
Swan versus Alexander. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna blow the roof off or whatever.
So maybe they're holding off on that for a good reason.
They're holding off for a title because they need to be fighting over a title. This is probably
okay
for Cedric Alexander's first title win. Yeah. I imagine. Whoa. So basically, the next thing that happens is Drew Gulak hits the air horn, calls out the rest of the Zoe Train. To try and, get all up in Rich Swann's face. And then Rich Swann, without calling people, has Akira Tozawa and Mustafa Ali come in even the odds. So
he really used an air horn?
Yeah, like the... yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. I like that idea.
Because he's a nerd. Anyway, NXT for this week. So they did the whole batch of NXT tapings.
Yeah.
And this week, basically, they had a nice celebration for Andrade Cien Almas's title win. Getting boos, getting so much heat from the crowd is pretty good.
Nice.
It was
I was
nice.
afraid that he would get too over from winning the belt.
I love him though.
Right.
So I would cheer, but that's just because I'm garbage.
I'm glad that he's getting heat for it, which he should. Since he's a heel. He was actually cheered when he won, so I was like, oh.
So the matches are as followed. So they had they're setting up the number one contender fatal 4-way to figure out who's going to be the person to face Andrade Cien Almas at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia, which is during Royal Rumble weekend. So the first of those matches aired tonight. So that was Killian Dane versus Trent Seven. Mustache man.
I'm going to have to watch NXT tonight.
I know. I imagine that match is going to be incredible. So Killian Dane, of course, gets the win because he's not going to lose at this point.
You got to keep building him up.
Definitely. So they have Undisputed Era hanging out backstage. Basically talking about how they won at War Games, and they're gonna clean house. They're gonna win. They're gonna take over and shock the system. And then they do their Undisputed Era hand signal, which I can't do. Oh. I don't know how to do it. So then there was a no holds barred match between Ruby Riott and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville getting the win this time.
Interesting.
So they're sort of, I think now this is they're due for a rubber match. Yeah. They had Ruby Riott won one, Sonya Deville won one. No, they just need to have.
How is all that playing into what they're doing?
I think they're not even acknowledging it at all, which is a shame. Like, it's so weird. Especially because, Sonya Deville is sort of like an afterthought in Paige's, and Ruby Riott's the leader of her faction.
Right.
So it's very weird how they're having this dynamic or lack of dynamic. I don't know. They have a video, an interview with Ember Moon talking about how she's going to be the best women's champion in NXT history. And so then it sort of sets up for Peyton Royce getting a title match, because Peyton Royce and the Iconic Duo, says Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, come out and talk about, oh, you pinned Nikki Cross. You didn't pin me. So it's true.
True.
So the match is set up for one of the members of Iconic Duo, Peyton Royce, to go up against Ember Moon. And then the next week afterwards, it's going to probably be
this is what I kind
the
of
other
expected.
member, Billie Kay, versus Ember Moon. So, Tyler Bate is also announced is getting his rematch for the UK title in a couple weeks. So, we're going to see that. Probably Dunne's going to retain because he can't beat the Bruiserweight. Sorry. Not sorry. I love Pete Dunne as champion.
I think he'll keep it for quite a while.
He should, because he's so talented. He's doing more to elevate that title within the WWE. And I don't know if maybe it's because they've started to give him more of an opportunity to. But I mean, he's done more with that belt than Tyler Bate did. So they also have a video package of the word soon and a new superstar, but the O's in soon are spades. So Queen of Spades, probably. Shayna Baszler.
Interesting.
So we have a match. Another one of the matches for the Fatal 4-Way. We have Cassius Ohno versus, it was going to be Velveteen Dream at first, which would have been an incredible match, but gets changed to Johnny Gargano.
Well, why does it get changed? Is there a reason? Or?
It doesn't explicitly say. I'm wondering if they just are choosing to be like ignore that it used to be
Probably.
Velveteen Dream. So Gargano finally gets the win.
Interesting.
Refines his smile.
Finds his smile again.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
okay.
he gets the submission via the Gargano escape. So it's nice. We're seeing maybe a rebirth of Johnny Gargano after a pretty solid losing streak.
It's interesting because I don't see why the rebirth would happen now. Of all, I mean,
I think it's building up because I think Ciampa's back soon.
Well, I mean, I can understand that, but I mean, in story wise, like, why would you just lose without having some payoff for it? You know what I'm saying?
I think they're going for a slow burn here.
That's.
I mean, I hope they do it right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they are. But I mean, the fans like him enough that having him start winning, and it's just going to be fine. But
and they had a nice show of respect afterwards, where Gargano and Ono bashed forearms with each other afterwards, to show that both of them still take the other seriously, and they both think that other people should respect this competitor. So I thought it was nice. Of course, two of the bigger faces in NXT and in indie wrestling in general. Arguable with Chris Hero because Kings of Wrestling, but I mean, it was a nice sort of way to have Gargano get a win that matters.
It definitely matters, yeah.
And you don't lose any shine off of Chris Hero.
All right.
So I thought it was a nice way of elevating both of them. Even though elevating Gargano just a little bit more because at this point he needs it for that rebuild.
Definitely.
That they're hopefully going to start.
Yeah.
So that was this week in WWE.
Better than last week.
Definitely better than last week.
I don't know if it'll be better than next week.
We'll see.
But it was a pretty good week in WWE.
Progress being made. I mean, it's definitely, from last week to this week, you can see things are starting to take off a little bit more in certain angles, in certain directions.
WWE this week, less shitty than last week.
Yeah. Which is a pretty big endorsement considering how WWE usually goes, so.
It does, yeah. So, I don't know who booked this week, but hopefully they have them back booking next week.
We pulled out some more Jimmy Jacobs.
So, who knows? Maybe. It's hard to say.